September 2016, and joined as always by our Steve. You alright, Steve?
Not so bad, Phil. Not so bad.
Have you got
Straight.
over your lurgy?
Yeah, I think I'm cured of that now,
All
which
healthy
is
again
good.
now.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that, but yeah, glad I've got rid of it. But it seems to be going round. Everybody else I know is coming down with it, and so I've been quite, not very nice when you've got it.
No, definitely. Is that us? I can hear
Not
in the
so bad,
background.
Phil. Not so bad. Was that?
I've got an echo. Have you got something running? Have you got us running
Yeah,
in the
I think
background?
I'm. No, that now. Shouldn't have,
Not,
which is good.
not if it's
Yeah,
us.
yeah, you could say that.
Hold on.
But yeah, glad I've got rid of it. But it seems to be going round. Everybody else knows coming down with it, and so I've been quite, not very nice when you've got it.
That's muted. Hold on. That's not doing anything.
Not so
Sorry,
bad,
that'll be
Phil.
the one. Stop that one. Sorry, it's when I was going around putting it all onto the site earlier. Sorry, that was me. At least I know it works. I didn't hear any hissing. If anyone can hear any static or anything, I do apologise. My camera angle dropped a bit as well. Otherwise, I'm driving back, dropping your head off. You think after all these years we'd be used to this? There we go. That's more like it. Right. Okay. So, usual thing, guys. Post up your questions to the forum. We'll get through them as many as we can. I don't think we've got too many on there today and everything else. But obviously, we'll be looking at what we've been getting up to, what Steve's been up to, and obviously, I've got the advent calendar behind me. As a lot of you know, I need to catch up on because I'm 3 days behind on that one. I forgot to do it yesterday and Sunday and today. So we'll be catching up on those as we make our way through. One thing I do want to speak about is Hans has put up next word there. The Hobby Boss review. It is in the forum, but you can see it's on the main site as well.
He's put up his very concise review of the entire one. This also says session 34, paint secret on the different colour schemes and all things, and as you can imagine, it's not right the way through. I've done a fantastic review on it, so if you want to go and have a look at that one, it's on the forum, obviously it's on the main site as well. You can see all about what is in the box, why it's so much money, and everything else like that. So both debates and hold on. And obviously the nose. I know a lot of people have discussed about the nose, apparently there is a replacement, a drop-in replacement coming in for it. And everything about, I think this is higher, it was already out of the as well, I'm sure it's earlier. As you can see, it's nice up close up pictures of the entire kit. If you want to go and have a look at it, just click on the link to the page on the site, where you can go through the usual suspect areas of the forum. You'll see all about it. But you say you've got loads of different pieces on that one. And you can go through there and then down to the forum. Questions, the rest bits and pieces down to the Q&A, which is there we go. Okay, this is what you've been up to.
Been quite quiet. I'll just quickly show you. I'm just doing a quick out of the box tank, and it's the Zvezda. Is it the T14 Armata? I believe they call it the new Russian. Yeah. So I thought I've never built a Zvezda kit before, so I thought I'd quickly put it together and see what it's like. So there's turrets virtually done.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's quite unusual actually. All these little launch tubes underneath, or whatever they are. It's yeah, but they've got some on the top as well, so I don't know. Not 100% certain what they are. But to be honest, it's a very, very nice kit. Really nicely detailed. It goes together really well. I haven't had that many fit issues. So I've done that, and then also I'm just working on the lower hull. The only criticism I have is on the back where the engine grills are. They give you this fine mesh material, which they give you a template and you've got to cut it out and fit over the grills. Now, those grills there, the larger ones, they aren't so bad because the mesh is quite fine and it goes from the underside. Whereas bottom one, the long one, the mesh is a lot bigger and it goes over the top. Now, the stuff that they've used, when you cut it out, you think, yeah, it don't look too bad, but it starts weaving itself. It's this really cheap nylon-y, plasticky stuff. It's not very good, so it's don't look the best. I don't know what it'll look like under a coat of paint. But if anyone else gets it, I definitely recommend getting some photo etch grills to go on there. It's for an extra couple of quid, they could have put photo etch grills in, and it'd have been a lot better. So that's the only criticism I've got so far. Apart from that, it's really nicely detailed kit. And luckily, this one was advised to do a camouflaged colour option, so I'll be going for that instead of that awful plain green parade one that they do. But no, it's not bad. Quite enjoying it. But I just thought I'd just quickly throw something together and then get on with some Star Wars kits. So that's the first time I fitted the turret actually, and it fits on perfectly. No problem whatsoever. But it's quite an unusual turret design. I like it.
It's basically all very much interchangeable, isn't it? There's bits and pieces, but what is the way of doing it?
Yeah.
Take the turret off, stick another version on there.
They've got all these little, I believe it's probably some kind of sensors or cameras scattered around the turret, which look quite good. Yeah, it's not bad.
Very nice. Is it that one, or is it the other one? I'm just trying to think if this is what. I don't know, perhaps it's just the Terminator, but I'm sure it was that one. The crew doesn't go in the turret. There's any armor to where everyone's underneath it.
Yeah, there ain't any.
There's no actual crew.
No doors, no.
In the turret itself, it's fully automated. But,
yeah.
Cool little design though, I must admit, very good.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I've been doing, as you know, the walk-up. So tomorrow they will be taking all these. So we did that one, we did tear this one up, gone through the actual motions everywhere. So we got this guy here, so just go around there, detailing it up, and everywhere that there's raised details, the shoe recess will change it up. And that is really good. And as you know, we did redid the legs with bolts, so they've actually got screws now, which are pretty much inaccurate to how they were as well. So we've got those done, so that is actually just really packed now, that is all been done. And then I've been doing today is this guy, which I have to say was an absolute joy to put together. It just holds together in about 10 minutes. End of the week, you'll get a build review. So obviously it's the review and I build it. It's how quick it goes together. What I'm doing is, like we did exactly the same on the Atan, I'm doing it in two-parter. So part 2 is going to show about converting this up into something a little bit nicer. As you get rid of these legs, come down to build those. To be honest, it's also wet under here. Sign that off, like detail, technically. We've also done a tiny little bit of pillow work that's required on the top. This is why I like this while I'll sign go through motions of it and everything else like that. Generally, I have to say, the price of what this is, which is just like 25 quid, it is fantastic. I think this is definitely one of those things where, you're good for the kids, they want to have a go at it, and the rest of it, but for us modelers as well, we want to do a bit more there. This is actually a really nice start toy. Now, okay, it's not going to be as details on some other big kind more, but that's a bargain. And the thing you can just do so much with it, painting, washing, and everything else. I'll get rid of it, but it's the horriblest sound effect I've ever had. It does have any. It does have new sound effects, but let's face it, one sound effect we wanted from this obviously is to have that collisioner there, the top of the trailer, and it doesn't have it. It's the one sound effect we wanted. Anyway, but apart from that, you're working through this one again. It's a one-day build, so it literally only took a couple of minutes together. Going through the motions of it tomorrow. Sanding, rewriting down below, painting, whether again on stage, just check that. So it'd just be literally 2 parts. so easy. And just being a chunky, it's halfway between round 9 and a normal kit, you know. So as I say, it's not the best in the world, but it definitely isn't the worst. So there we go. Right, okay, it's Tuesday. It is Tuesday day. My keyboard is definitely ready today. So the title works. Okay. So, first question we've got from Chris. He says, hi, Felicity, hope you're both well. I may be amongst the first to assume we have Christmas do. We're going to be doing that a lot over the next few weeks. I made an impulse buy on eBay in the day and was shocked myself. But I purchased the Haskell anything for one in price. Unfortunately, I did do my research first. The kit up to scale since originally. The only review it states, I think, modelers know the original Haskell. I don't think it was really FPV. It was the FPV concept illustrator. The FPV one. My question is, would you go down after market and try to search another version, or should I cut my losses and pay more for a kit? Thanks for all your hard work. It's great. Like, cheers, Chris. True, that is demonstrating. What happened was, is when we were going through the shootout development, the FPV striking progress, all that is was an upgrade of subtanks on it, and wet split, and have the sensors in those days or anything else. So, accordingly, you find the cockpit is completely red. The engines are wrong as well. Lots of different bumps and bumps all over it, which can be slightly different. You say you got it for a good price. I think being you got it for a good price, keep it for the sort of spare box, and various things like that. Because you can use bits from it, you can backdate it to the mean, and things like that. So that might be that way to go down it. You could, if you want to, upgrade it. So they do an aftermarket cockpit for it, which also bring it up to date. So they do try to keep the cockpit areas to it. You can give the areas nozzles and back end for it as well. They're very nice to touch. And also you can get weapons and sensor pods. But honestly, by the time you've done all that, like Rebel kit is probably still one of Rebel's better kits they've released. It's actually really, really good out of the box. I've built it. I think it's very touched one. But there's an old one that I did back in the day. I did it in time community. We used the aftermarket cockpit unit and various instances. But generally, out of the box, it makes it very good. Being red jeans at least quite a lot to do that. You get the sort of high. Problem with red is it's really basic. It's got like 4 2,000 box. I think it's like to give one of them cover it, race the net. You get one weapon split, less than one system. You get an incredible split. But just depends really how much you spend. If you spend quite a bit on kit, you can always go back to the week and do it that way. Don't put hard packs on it and the rest of it, just have it hard packs on the shop. That's all it takes. That's logical wins. Just have it train and do it that way because you can do that with also but the real cockpit is just the cockpit that one. So you know anything about that kit?
No, I haven't done that one. In fact, I haven't built a 1/48 F-15 yet. But to be honest, I'd probably put it on eBay, sell it, and buy the Revel kit. Take the easy option.
Right, what's this you say? It sounds like outside. Right, so obviously we have got a thing. Hold on a second, I'm just going to try one of the things. Hold on. Just gonna try that in there. And then also I'm going to get my backup mic if it'll reach. Okay. Let's just do that one. Okay. Right, does that sound any better, Steve?
Yeah,
Is that any better?
Well, this is a thing because you do sound, your voice is really good, but there's a little background hiss for me. But like we were saying earlier before we came on air, but then again, the members might not hear it, and it might be a Skype thing. So we'll just wait for feedback, I think.
Right. Okay.
Hopefully you'll get a text in a minute.
I have. I've got people texting me. I'd like to know they got my number, or it's people I know, but I don't know them. It's not coming up with their numbers, so I don't know who these people are. I've just got, well, hey Phil, your sound, just you, is very quiet. So,
Your
yeah,
sound. Matt's watching it. It says my sound's good.
Right. There you go, guys. Text back when you get this to let me know if the sound's any better. Because Matt said, sounds like you're outside.
Oh, it says, yeah, it said a wind tunnel to me.
Right. So let us know how that is, guys, before we start, and I'll play with some settings on the fly. I can't think what else it can be, because there's nothing plugged in, nothing's been changed, as far as I know. Yeah. Text me when you hear this, guys, and let me know how it is now. Just checking. Sometimes cables hit things and knock things and other things. That's all good. That's all good. Right, how's that? Can you still hear me, Steve?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
No, hold on.
Hello.
Right, how's that?
Well, I'm listening on my phone and there's a hiss, but I can hear you.
Right, okay, how's that though? I've just changed a couple of things. I have changed a couple of bits and pieces, so we'll see how that is. The only thing is, it does, I don't know, perhaps that may be slightly better.
If I turn this up, Phil, can you hear that? Hiss,
Yeah.
that's what they're hearing.
I have changed a couple of bits and pieces, so we'll see how that is.
So there you go.
Hold on, keep listening, see if it goes, because it might be alright now. I've changed to a different setting completely. So now you can see how much lag we have, but I have changed the setting.
This is weird.
Because the thing is, I can only hear things through my earpiece, which is from Steve, you see. So that's the trouble we have here. This is where you need an audio engineer.
Yeah, there is a background hiss, but I can hear what he's saying. Yeah, there's a hiss, but you sound a lot better, so that could be a Skype problem.
Yeah, not sure. Hold on, let me Right, well, everyone's saying we're coming through better now. So thank you, Richard.
Yeah,
So-
it makes it's more and more point towards probably Skype, isn't it?
Yeah, because all I did, to be honest, it's now feeding direct It's not going through the mixer at all, so not sure. We'll persevere and see what happens. As long as I'm loud enough and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
shout if you can. Everyone can hear. Yeah, I'm not sure why that all is, I must admit. And the thing is, because you've got it coming through an earpiece, I can't actually hear what it is like.
Oh, right, we've just had someone saying background hiss has gone.
Right.
So, but that was 14 minutes ago, but I don't think that time's right. So we'll just carry on, Phil. I'm sure if nobody hears us, we'll...
Yeah. No sound, Phil. Hi, Phil. Sound from here is about... Okay. Sorry, Phil. 13 minutes in, the sound is naff. Steve is fine. No sound from Phil. No sound from Phil. Better. That is better. Still not quite as loud as Steve. With the big mic now. While you change things a second ago, a bit worse. Sounds like your airbrush extractor is on. This is Flory. Background noise is gone. Sound is back now. Right, okay. I'll turn myself up just a tiny bit and then we'll try that. Just a little bit louder. Good job we have backups for everything. We've got mics everywhere. In this case, I've cut into the one that works best. Okay, right, try again. Sorry about that, everybody. Troubles with being live. As I say, I'd rather find out now, though, than at the end of this. Okay, so Mark says, hi guys, hope you both are well and Merry Christmas. My question is, after receiving in the mail a resin street and curb base in 1/35th, they are warped, concaved. Is there a way of flattening it out so they are usable again? The base diameter is 270 by 190 and it's 5mm to 10mm thick. I've tried the old immersing boiling water in trick until it is soft and then placed it on a flat and waited until they are cool to find it returns to the warp state, making me think that it was not formed properly in the first place. Maybe I need to glue it to a timber base. I'm surprised the old hot water trick hasn't worked because, to be honest, that's what I do. Was it hot enough? That may be the thing. You want it so it's really floppy. And because it's a square base, it's nice and easy with that one. Just get yourself a flat surface. Don't put it on to like your draining board so it's like that. But get it so when you pull it out, it's literally just completely floppy. Put it down and then let it cool naturally. Don't speed it up with hot water. Let it just set on its own. I've never known one to actually take other shapes because you can literally mould it to other shapes if you wanted to. But if it is not doing that, then yeah, I would probably suggest whacking it to a wooden board. Super glue it to a wooden board. You know, use a slow setting super glue or a slower one and then just skim it right the way over it, place it down onto it and then put a bit of wood on top and flatten it to it. Steve, yeah? You ever had something like that?
No on something as big. Like I say, I'd go with a really hot water so you could actually feel it starting to give. Put it straight on top of worktop and then put breadboard on top and then put something to weigh on top of that till it goes cool. If you're gluing it to a board, yeah. Really, you want epoxy putty, don't you? Because then it's down for good, but it's getting you need to put a really heavy weight on the bit that's warped, and I mean really, really heavy.
Or clamp it.
Yeah,
clamp it between two bits of wood, you know, to flatten it out.
Your vice, just to get that bit. Yeah, get some really good clamps on it. But or there is that other one. If that failing all else, you can always put a little cut in the back, just to gently bend it down. If you put a nice little cut mark along it, you know how you do. You put several cut marks, and then it'll just enable it just to give a bit more, just to push it down. But no,
Yeah.
I'd try the hot water trick again, but get your tap really hot and then put it under the tap and leave it so it's awful. Don't. So if you just put hot water over it and then try doing it, it's not giving it time to go soft. You've got to let it go soft.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've done it before where I've had bigger parts and it's literally like this. It goes really floppy. Yeah, I worry about stretching. Doesn't seem to stretch, but it goes really, really soft. And then whatever shape you put it down on, it conforms to it. I think it may be like Steve was saying. Perhaps you haven't used enough heat into it that it's right the way through. That perhaps it's still a little bit, stiff inside, and it's just going back to it. So maybe even time to boil the kettle, get that into an area, put it down into it, submerge it completely. Lift it out, get it down onto a hard surface. You will have a couple of seconds of playtime. You normally just in the air temperature have like 10 seconds to get it to how you want it to be, and then let it dry normally. But it depends on the thickness. If it's 5 to 10 mil thick, or it's a centimetre thick, that's quite thick. Then obviously it may be just that it's got stiffness still in amongst it, and it's just going back to being it. But failing that, yeah, epoxy it down. Clamp it, cut the G clamps or C clamps onto it, put them on, clamp it in, leave it overnight, undo it in the morning. You'll be good to go and do it like that. Even if you just put it down onto a bit of 5 or 6 mil MDF, that'll do the trick. Okay, so Harry says, hi Phil and Steve, I'm building the Naboo Starfighter for the Star Wars group build. I have not had much experience with metallizer paints. And you fellows seem to have tested most of these paints. Which one of the paint brands of chrome do you think would be for the best for a highly polished finish needed for the Starfighter? Thank you. Right, okay, well if you're doing the Naboo one, that thing is chrome. You're always going to struggle with that. Technically, if you're new to painting, I always say probably the best thing to do is to have a go at using the AK Extreme Metals. They'll probably give you the best metal finish for the effect. Apart from chrome, chrome is always going to be the one where it's very difficult to get that chrome-like finish, especially if you're not used to it. Usual rules with it apply. Gloss black base finish that is like a mirror anyway, and then what you're doing is just overcoating that with a shiny surface on top to give you that type of reflection. Chrome has always been the weak spot. The best chromes tend to be the ones you can polish and everything else. The AK one is a limited polish, doesn't really like it. It's not like using some of the other ones which really love to be polished, such as the buffable ones, but that's the easiest one to use. It's the easiest metallizer to spray because it doesn't matter how you put it down, it tends to self-level and sort itself out and gives you a very nice metal finish with no problems at all. So from that point of view, that's what I would recommend going down. Alclad, stuff like that, probably will give you a better finish, but then they're so fragile, they take a lot of learning to use them right and to get a chrome finish. Your other option, of course, is to plate it in something like a bare metal foil in chrome and do it that way, which could be another option. It's quite a simple, complex, it's not like it's right angles and joints on it. It's quite a smooth surface. You can literally just put that down, and basically that is just like aluminium foil, but it's gluey on one side. So you peel it off and stick it down, and then you can rub it in and then polish it as well and do all those things to it. But if you're thinking about trying a metallizer, then I'll go down the AK route because their extreme metals are really, really nice to spray with. Steve, any ideas?
No, I think you covered it there, Phil. But to be honest, with it being a model, I won't want that perfect chrome finish. I think having it knocked back a bit, like you probably get from using AK's Extreme Metal over the gloss, I think that would look really, really good, actually.
Yeah.
I think perfect chrome, it starts going into the realms of that, that chrome coating that you put on some model kits, especially car parts, where it looks toy-like almost.
Yeah.
You run the risk of going down that avenue if it gets too shiny. So I'd probably look at going for the AK Extreme myself over gloss black.
Yeah, to be honest, as I say, if you haven't done anything like that before, that's the easiest one to work with. That's easier than the acrylics because you literally spray it down. Just remember, it's quite smelly. You're going to need an extractor. You're going to need obviously a bit of a respirator going on, something like that, because it is pretty nasty stuff to work with. but it gives a very nice finish. Really, really nice finish. Can't complain about it at all. Okay, so Steve, do you just want to pop to the end of this thread and see what they're saying about it?
I did that a second ago, and I've had no.
Oh, they're all right now, are they?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Else put out nasty up.
So Gary says, hi Phil and Steve, quick question. I want to build an Apache longbow in 1/48 scale. Which is the best kit? Should I get the resin and or colour photo etch instrument panels? A little worried about protruding rivets. If I have to sand them and fill, and thinking that I might as well, thinking that a well-made, well-fitting kit would help. Any advice appreciated. Hasegawa's kit, really, really nice. It's probably the best out of the bunch for the Apache. They do various different forms of it, the Japanese versions, the Israeli versions, the American versions. I don't think they do a British one though, do they? Do they do a WASP one?
No,
Westlands? A WSAS one?
No,
I
I
don't
know
think
Rebel
anyone
do.
does that. Yeah.
Rebel does. Is it Heritage Models? I've got the set. They do the conversion set.
Yeah.
Or upgrade set to convert it over into the British one, and it's got all the correct rocket pods and various little humps and bumps all over it.
Yeah.
But when you do the British one, the problem is getting the day calls. There were only one place that did it when I got mine, which were old model aligned sheet. But I know, like I say, Rebel do it. So if you want the British one, you'd have to go down the Rebel option.
Now, is Rebels their own or just a Reeboks or someone else's?
I think I've always thought it were Reeboks that has a Galcade, and they've done it.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, well, there you go. So if it is that, then you're laughing.
But I know
but
it's.
also-
Yeah, if I were getting it, I'd either get the Hasegawa or Rebel kit.
Because I've done the Academy one and it's not as good as the Hasegawa one. We did it on the site. I don't think it's available on the site anymore. It's one of the old ones. But I did it as a video build on there. And again, it was one of those things. I wish I'd done the Hasegawa one because the Academy one is just a little bit clunky. Raised rivets and stuff like that. Again, it's never that easy. You can go down aftermarket route for it. So, Archer is probably your best bet. So you can pick up sheets like these. Okay, so these are your Archer ones, and these are raised rivets. These are very nicely produced, not like, to be honest, the ones we had before we were trying to do the 190. These are a lot more defined, and obviously you've got different spacings and different ones, and you can get them in various different, I think we've got, like, it's just the different types here. Yeah, these are just the same, but they do different sets and various things in there. So if you wanted to, you could then buy these and just replace raised ones. But these you can probably hear it. They are very nicely pronounced. Okay, so these aren't like flat. They're pretty good in scale though. It's not like they're totally over the top. But yeah, these are like, you know, 0.20 millimeter, 0.36 millimeter, and 0.28 millimeter ones as well. So quite nicely done. Quite easy to use as well. Just treat them like a decal, and you can put those in. Okay, and he also says, by the way, I also heard that adding a little clear future to Vallejo primer makes it dry quicker, makes it harder and easy to sand. Just wondering if you tried this and what your thoughts are. To be honest, yes, we did try this when we were going through all of this last year. We say it almost feels like years ago now, but we did try it, and to be honest, wasn't that impressed with it. It just didn't work as well. It does dry it quicker and it dries it slightly harder, but I don't think it changes the overall thing of it, because all you're doing as well is diluting it. The actual primer itself, it makes it a little bit thinner, so you have to put a little bit more down, and then you're into that realms of it. Personally, I just sort of keep trying to clear of it, but I know people, because they told me to do it, that they get it to work, and that's what they do. So like I say with everything, everybody has different ways of doing the same thing. So if it works for you, give it a whirl, see how you get on with it. You know, if it works, fantastic. Just when I tried it, just never really worked that well. We have Rob Lee. Hi Phil and Steve, I just wanted to ask what you guys do when if your airbrush needs a deep clean. Mine is the H&S Ultra. I use the Tamiya Vallejo acrylics like Phil, and it doesn't seem to matter what I do because the colour cup, and the bit where it pokes in always seems to get paint left in after the air cap gets paint all over it frequently, and the nozzle needs declogging frequently. To be honest, that's just a thing of using acrylics. Acrylics tend to gum up very easily, thicker than other things, and because they're more softer, they tend to clog rather than just going crusty and stuff like that. Deep cleaning, occasionally, very rare. I tend to just wipe over it with quite a harsh airbrush cleaner. In my case, I use lacquer thinners, and that strips out everything and keeps them nice and clean and going just like that. The thing is with it, every now and again, it's always nice just to do a part strip down. You don't have to go all the way, but take the needle out, take the front end off of it, and all the rest of it, and just give all those bits a bit of a clean up. Because the little things, like you can get build up around the nozzle, around the colour cup areas. So like down on here, for instance, you get a situation where you get a bit of build up around the neck here, and this is quite typical of it. It's quite crusty, got bits all on this. What can happen is if you change over, those bits fall in and they get down in there and then block your nozzle and all the rest of it. Good maintenance is just to keep these areas clean, which I'm bad of because this is filthy and covered in bits coming off of it. But those bits, they get soft, they go down to your needle, get between your nozzle and your needle, and it jams things up and it just clogs up and everything else like that. So from that point of view, you always want to just make sure that everything is all nice and going. But what I probably do with mine occasionally, like this is a little bit, the needle's a bit sticky, it's free again now, but what I'll do is I'll just take these off, give these a good clean out. I'll take the front end off, if I get the front end off, there we go. Okay, whip the needle out. Okay, give the needle a good clean, make sure you get it off of these areas up here and all areas like that. Okay, and then once they're done, this area in here, I'll just poke a brush up in here sometimes, just give it a rub out and everything else. That's about it. The only time I go further, and we've got a full video of this as well, don't forget up in the tips area on the thing about airbrushing, I'll strip all this out as well completely and give it a good clean all the way through. But generally a bit of a rub round and a clean out does wonders. Just, you know, after when you've been spraying stuff like that. I'm not one of these people who takes it, dismantles my airbrush fully after airbrushing and all the rest of it. You know, like I know Hans does, he tends to take his apart after he's used it, where with me I tend to just like leave it. But generally just keeping it clean all around the front end here, things like that. I never let it build up around here. I'll take all this apart and just give it a wipe round cleaner, because it's a bit like your car. When it starts to get dirty, it can get dirty really quickly. So, you know, this airbrush here, as we know, is over 10 years old and it still looks like new. You know, I've got a little bit of build up under here. To be honest, this is clear where it's dried under here in the holder. But generally, the rest of it is all very, very nicely clean. As I say, this airbrush really is now, it's been coming up for 11 years old. So yeah, one of those things. Steve, are you a good cleaner with your airbrush, or are you naughty?
Yeah, I tried to be. Whenever I finish using it, I always like to give it a good rinse out. I start with using IPA. A couple of flushes out with some IPA, then a flush out with some airbrush cleaner, then I'll leave a drop of airbrush cleaner in it overnight till the next use it. Every so often, once every couple of weeks, I'll take the needle out, give the needle a good wipe, cleaning the nozzle area, make sure it's all nice and free and no build up inside the nozzle. And then once every 6 months, I'll just strip it down. Take it all to bits, even take the trigger out, everything, and then I'll get a little tub, fill it up with some IPA and just leave it soak for a bit in there. That'll loosen any grime, dust, because you get a lot of dust dropping in where your trigger is over time. When it just sat there, you'll get dust and bits of crap in there, and I'll give it a good proper clean out. Any stubborn areas, I'll use a bit of airbrush cleaner, and then when I put it back, just put a little drop of oil in now and again, just to keep everything nice and smooth. Keep it going. So you don't need to strip it down every day. You know, you should be, as long as you give it a good clean out, good flush out, you're all right. But I do recommend that you do get the proper reamer for your airbrush, and also some airbrush cleaning brushes. They're really good, because you can get in there and give it a good scrub inside. But yeah, that's
definitely. Yeah. But also, it depends how often you use your airbrush. If you're one of these people who like airbrushes, and then you might not do it for another couple of months, it's probably worth taking it apart. Take your needle out, just take the nozzle and the end cap off and leave it like that. Because otherwise, over time, it will literally weld up. It will go very, very hard. If you've got any type of residue of paint, thinners and that, the seals, it will all stick to itself. But if you're like me and you're airbrushing pretty much every day, nothing has time to really go hard. To be honest, I am terrible, because I'm sure this is probably going to be like it. No, actually, my God, it's clean. But normally, if because I paint every day religiously, for instance, when I finish doing the black work on that one, I must have cleaned it out. But sometimes I won't even clean it. I'll put the top on, the colour cut lid, and I'll leave it. And then when I come to it, it's still wet, still ready to go, and I'll go for it like that. It's different if you're using lacquer-based paints, because they tend to evaporate quicker. But acrylics, I'll even sit there overnight and then carry on the next day. Just rethin it, a little bit of mix-up, and away you go again, which is terrible practice to do. But it is that thing. Nothing has time to dry and go rock hard and stuff like that. But if you do, you finished airbrushing, you haven't really given it a proper clean, but you're not going to touch it for 3 months, you put it in your drawer or wherever it is, it's going to go rock hard, and it's going to be really difficult to clean it out. But if it's always in use and it's always got soft paint in there, things like that, they're easy to flush through and get rid of and everything else.
Yeah, that's why a good drop of airbrush cleaner in there, just pour some in when you're not using it.
Yeah,
obviously pump a bit through, and just now and again switch your compressor on, just give it a quick bullet trigger, a bit more through, and leave it, and that'll just keep it nice and well looked after. And so when you next use it, you'll be straight into your airbrushing instead of having
definitely
to unlock the needle and bang it on your desk and swear at it.
Which we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. Okay, Alan says, hi Phil, I posted this in the Ask Phil section, but stuck it here as well, as you don't seem to have found it yet. Probably. I've got 3 cockpits waiting to be weathered. Okay, you currently have 2 videos on ink washes, one using thinner, one using airbrush cleaner. Which one do you currently go with, and why? It was just a way of showing. It's one of those things where I like to show different ways of doing the same thing, because you always get somebody else say, oh, you should do it this way. So that's why I do it. Personally, there is no right and wrong between both of them. Some people like to do it obviously with a thinner, and all you're doing is making basically a pin wash technically with the actual ink. It's a great way of doing it. It's dirt cheap because it goes for miles, because one part of ink goes into around about 100 parts thinner, because it is very strong. And you do it that way. But personally, I probably prefer a little bit of airbrush cleaner in there, purely because it's not as aggressive on your paintwork and anything you might be rubbing around to put it round and everything else like that inside your cockpit. If you're using a thinner, like an acrylic thinner going in, obviously you're going to be attacking your acrylic paint. The other way is, obviously, you could then go in with enamel washes or oil washes and various things like it. There's no right way, but personally, I prefer using a bit of airbrush cleaner, because it's got a good flow enhancer, doesn't dry as quick either, so you've got more time to move it around and everything else like that. But as I said, ink washes are just a different way of doing oil washes or enamel washes and everything else. It's just one of those little things where you find what works best for you and everything else. It's just a cheap way of doing it. You buy a bottle of ink for next to nothing, and that's probably enough to make 5 litres of wash, because it is so strong. Okay, so Tony says, hey fellas, one for Steve. If someone who has never built armour before wanted a kit to add to their stash, would you have any suggestions? New armour.
Well, for new armour, obviously Tamiya's go together really well. Any Tamiya kit you won't be so bad with. Yeah, it's hard when you need. To be honest, I'd rather pick a kit that you like the look of. Go for either Trumpeter, Hobby Boss, Tamiya, even Meng, because they're okay. The big kit, got a lot of detail, but they do go together really well. So get one of them. Find a kit that you like the look of, and just go for it. Stay away from Dragon, because they're really tricky. But yeah, there's nothing really. Pick an area that interests you and something that you want to build. I can't go saying, oh, get yourself a Sherman if you're not into Shermans are out, just have a look at what sort of kits you tanks, armour that you like the look of, and just go for it. Just get yourself one and just build it. Just take your time, and you should be okay. That's it's always a tricky one, is that? But you need to go for the area that you want to build.
Definitely. Like we've always said before, you pick a subject you're into. There's no point building something if you don't really want to build it because you don't like it. So as you say, I would pick something that you like the look of and everything else like that. That would help. And then, as you say, we always say, Dragon tends to be a little bit heavy going. But like everything, you take your time with it. You'll be absolutely fine. But there is obviously easier kits out there. As I said, when I did the Chieftain, probably the best kit I've ever done. Easily the best bit of armour I've ever done because it just falls together. It's absolutely flawless, no problem at all. It's almost click fit. Okay, so that's a funny username. That must be from back in the day before we changed. Just trying to think how you've even got that username through. So we'll have to check on that after the show. He says, "Hello Steve, I'm trying to build the 148 scale A37B, which is the Dragonfly, isn't it, I think? For the Warts and All Kit SIG. I'm probably going to do the Trumpeter one. Do you think it is the best option out there? And if you have time, could you help me getting the right paint colours for it too? Here's my post in the forum. Thank you, Marco."
I think it's Trumpeter's the latest one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, your only other option is the old Monogram kit, isn't it?
And that's
which everyone used to convert into a tweet.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the pictures he's posted up, and I think that he's using Vallejo. That's probably the way to go. He's put up US sand, IAF sand, sand yellow, earth red, field drab. I don't know which country is he going for. Peru.
Well, that'll be the one then. I must admit, I don't know Peruvian colour schemes.
It's a two-tone colours on the Dragonfly. It's kind of a brown sand colour. But to be honest, what you want to do, Marco, is don't be worried about getting the colour exact. Use the pictures you've got and kind of just, as long as you're in the ballpark of them colours, you'll be fine. Because obviously, you've had a picture of two of them next to each other. The browns that probably look different. At the time you've weathered it, put fading on there, you'll be off. You don't need to be that accurate with your colour. You don't have to have it exact. So that's what I'd go for. But it's, I don't know, that's kind of that. It's almost a bit like, it's hard to see, it's quite old picture. It's kind of a buff, maybe something like Tamiya buff and a bit of brown, flat earth or something. Going by the colours he's put, I'd probably go the US sand and then find a light brown. It's hard. One that you need to look at the pictures, Phil, that he's put up. It's definitely a sand and brown colour, so. But yeah, just go for the kind of just rough area, don't you? You can't, because the picture's that old, I don't think you'll be able to get an exact match anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, that.
Yeah, right, okie dokie. Never mind. Okay, so we've got, who's this? Daryl, hi gents, hope you both are well. I'm having a bit of an issue with decals on my older Tamiya Mark II Racing Jaguar from 1985. The basic problems is the decals have cracked on the sheet. I've applied some of them as this has been getting back into the hobby stroke new technique trial model. However, I've been stopped applying them as I have been unable to find a suitable instruction on how to apply pre-cracked decals. Tried a search on the forum and on Google, but nothing really apart from either aftermarket or print it yourself decals. However, I don't really want to throw too much money at it. Would rather save it for some of the other kits I have in my stash. Also, a little side note is it is not easy to get guns range in New Zealand. I know of one stockist that has been out of stock for self-leveling thinners for a while now. Read online to use Tamiya lacquer thinners at about 30 to 70% paint thinner mix, and it worked a treat. Yeah, right, we've got some pictures up as well. The thing is, we have spoken about this before. The trouble that you actually have is that once decals start cracking and everything else, they're just at the end of their natural life. And obviously it's an older kit, so the decals are very old. Tamiya decals tend to be a little bit thicker as well, so they are prone to cracking in old age. And to be honest, Google and everything's right as well. We always say, bin it, go down the aftermarket route, because you're just fighting a losing battle. As soon as they start to crack, unless you can just get that thing where, and to be honest, on yours it's not so bad, it's a flat surface, take them off individually and do a jigsaw job and marry them up. And then sometimes you can just pop in with a little bit of paint if you've got a little bit of gaps. But because you've got the white, which is like the 92 underneath, you're always going to have that trouble, because as soon as you overlap or get a gap, it's like a different type of white colour. So it's very difficult to stop it from happening. The only things you can really do is to overcoat it, so you can give it a coat of like clear. You can get proper, Micro Industries do one called decal film, which you can paint over decals and it stops them from cracking and stuff like that. But honestly, when you get into that stage, as we always say, not so much for you because this is sort of a test thing for you, but you know, you get guys and they say, oh, it's the decals are rubbish. If you spent all that time working onto it, spend an extra £5–10, buy a replacement decal sheet for it and get a perfect result, rather than just trying to wreck it and having it fall apart on you and give you all the grief and struggle, not to mention it not looking very nice at the end, when you can just pick up a new set for it. But yes, it's obviously from 1995, look, that's the trouble. So they have been kicking around a few years now, and that is it. Sometimes if they're stored in lofts and stuff like that over time, they go worse. That's why we were talking about it to Hans, and he takes his decals out and keeps them separate because of that very thing happening.
All you could do with that 92 is maybe use it as a template and make your own templates based on that. Maybe stick the 92 and cut it out. Keep it on the deck, back on the backing paper, and cut the nines out using a sharp scalpel. Do the best job you can, and then put it over some paper, cut out a mask so you can spray the number on. That's one way.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things. Sometimes, you know, you're saying it's not supposed to be it, but it's looking very nice. So obviously you don't want it to look sort of like that with the marks in there. But other times you might be able to actually hand paint them in. You know, you use the decal as a thing and then hand paint the entire thing in. Not obviously, it doesn't work every time. It depends how good you are at your hand painting. But you can, you know, I've done it with a few of mine. I've had stars and bars and things like that on the insignias. They break up and I put them down roughly and then I repaint the entire thing by hand over the top of it, using it as almost a guide for doing it. But unfortunately, it is that thing. They're just old decals. Decals notoriously, especially if they're in dry, humid conditions, they dry out and then they crack. And that is the trouble with it. So yeah, not exactly brilliant answer. I know what you was looking for, but there is no real easy answer to it. No. He says, cheers guys, and thanks for what you two do for the whole Flory family team. It's been a massive help with getting back into the hobby. No problem, Daryl. Okay, we'll have to see about changing your name as well, because obviously you came in before we did the change and you haven't been on, so you got skipped. Neil says, hi Phil and Steve, thank you so much for giving me a prod that I needed to get my photos and posting pictures up in my build. I think it was just the thing I needed to get things moving. Read the hairspray technique, which was on this one. Read the hairspray technique. Is there a certain type of hairspray I should use other than the cheapest I can find? Also, when I'm cleaning, when I'm decaling and applying microsol, sometimes the decal rehydrates and moves where I wanted it. Really? Normally it's halfway stuck down by then. I barely put any microsole on yet sometimes still they still move. Any hints? All right. Okay, well, first thing, hairspray. To be honest, I have just found that the cheapest ones work best. So I use Asdarote, but that's only because I've had this can now for probably the last 10 years. But the thing is, yes, you could use Elnet and all the rest of it. I'm pretty sure they'd all do the same thing. But some of the more, shall we say, pricier hairsprays, they're not designed to break up as easy as others. So if you got the cheap one, it's literally lacquer in a can, okay, being atomized. That's all it literally is. And then obviously it can wash out. So that's what we use on these guys and doing chipping techniques and things like that with it. The thing is, if you're using the more real expensive ones, they're designed to hold even more, so they're less likely to break up, or not as easily going to break up as perhaps it does with here. So it may be a case of, like, you know, the more expensive ones give you a more finer chipping effect and things like that, whereas this one, you start to get it wet, and as you saw when I was doing this one, it literally starts to fall apart very, very quickly, and it comes off in sheets and everything else like that. But that's all I've ever learned. I just find the cheapest one works. So this is Asda. I've used Tesco ones in the past, that worked just as well. And everything else, but it's one of those things you just spray and go, and that's it. A lot of it though depends on how hard your paint is. Okay, if you're using a paint that's like rock hard and it's a good high quality paint, perhaps you're going to have a harder time chipping it than you do with something like Model A, which is quite a soft paint, and it just comes away quite easily. But I find Guns as well, when Guns is on and dried, particularly hard to chip it and things like that. That's why I like to use things like either Tamiya or Model Air for chipping, because it just chips really easy with it and it works very, very nicely. Steve, chippy technique with hairspray?
Yeah, I tend to use quite a cheap one. I think the more expensive ones, like Phil's saying, they're designed to really grip, and also if you're outside in the rain, just to protect your hair, you know, keep your hair in place, instead of it just going like, you know, soggy dog. So yeah, also you can get ones that water based, they'd probably work as well. But I'd prefer, to be honest, I'd rather use chipping fluid, because you've just, I don't know, I prefer applying mine with a brush. I don't know why, I just find with a, you need to put a couple of coats on, but I think sometimes with the airbrush it can bubble up a bit.
Yeah.
As you're applying it and then it can affect how the chipping is then. If you get a big drop on your surface, then when you come to rub your paint off, it takes a big area off instead of little bits. So I think you've just got more control over it, applying it with a brush. And also when you're putting your paint on, really thin coat. If you put thick coat of paint on, it's going to take you forever to work your way through to activate the hairspray for it to start coming off. And just think, like, for example, if you're doing a winter camo scheme, just have it quite patchy, your white paint as well. You don't need it to be just solid all the way across. Have it patchy because you've got to be rubbing through it, so you want it. So it just makes it look a bit more natural as well, a lot better. But yeah, I prefer a chipping fluid, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's just literally thing. It depends what you're doing. Like when I did that one, it was just because it's a can. It was like, but as I said, I had the chipping fluid in the hand. That's what I was saying. When I've done it before, I've brushed it on. You know, we did the hind. I think we did a couple of drops in an airbrush and put down a precise area because I only wanted chipping in a certain area with it, and various things like that. So from that point of view, it literally is depending what you're doing with it. If you're putting it down through a can like I was doing, great if you're doing an overall object, but if you're doing something you want to have specific areas, localized areas for chipping, you've got no control over it because it's gone everywhere, okay, and everything else like that. So
yeah, 2 light coats of your chipping solution are better than 1 heavy coat.
Yeah, definitely, because otherwise you just got, as Steve says, try and get through it, and sometimes if it welds on, you're fighting to get it back. As for the micro sole, sometimes letting them move, I must admit I've never had that happen. Normally, you know, when we do all the deckling, you put it down with water, might have a bit of softener in there, but that's it. And then when you rub them down, they're down and they're on, they're gripping on. Then when I put the one over the top, literally they tend to shrivel a little bit, perhaps, which is always a good sign as far as I'm concerned, because it means it's going to really go down nicely, and that's it. If chances are, if you're putting that on, you're probably putting too much on, and it's flooding it, and it's then just it's seeping underneath, lifting the decal, and it's starting to slide. So the chances are you've just got too much on there, so you just want to knock it back a little bit. Nice thin coat right over the top. The other thing as well, if you go in there with really thick setting solutions, it can soften the paint around the decal and makes it go white. I know some people, they say to me, you get like a white tide mark around your decals. It's too much actual softener and setting agents. It's etching into sometimes the clear coat, especially if you're using like a Johnson's floor cleaner, which are wax based. It etches in, you end up with a little white ring around your actual decal. That's what it is, it's eating in there. It's because you've got far too much on there. It's better to have light coats and let it build through than it is to go in with one heavy coat, because otherwise, as I say, it can cause damage all around it. But I would suspect you've got too much, and it's literally gone underneath the decal again. It's lifted it slightly, and that's why it slid a little bit. So again, nice little light coats on there. He also says, I see Hans has done a detailed review of the Hobby Boss SU34. Do you have any plans to review it and build it in the new year sometime? Well, it's not available over here. I don't know when it is going to come over here. I haven't seen any suspect of it coming out yet. I know it was out in the Far East. It's obviously available in the US because Hans picked his up the other day at the weekend, so I'm not sure when it's around. If it is around, I'll do it. Chances are I probably won't do a review though, because Hans has done a stunning review, which just so happens this is Hans' review. We looked at it earlier, you know, and it is literally that good. It is a beautiful, very good, well written as always from Hans, and all the rest of it, you know, review. So if you wanted to, go and have a look at that one, and I probably will tell you everything you need to know. I don't honestly think we need me to do it again from that point of view. As for building it, yeah, love to. I'm a big fan of the aircraft, you know, I like the Russian stuff, so next year I would probably get in there and have a good go at it, to be honest. Fancy doing a Russian jet, Steve?
Well, yeah. Well, I've got the that kinetic one, haven't I? The 33 to build. I've got MiG 29.
Yeah.
Build the Great Wall Hobbies one. I think I've got an Academy one. SU 27, but I'd probably go out and get one of the new ones, trumpeters and that. Yeah, I've got quite a few MiG 21s. So yeah. And to be honest, it's just a shame it's Kitty Hawk. I've got my eye on the which one is it? SU 17 they're bringing out or something like that. SU 24.
Is that the Flagon?
Yeah, that one that John's really getting excited about.
All right, John gets excited about anything Russian, if we're honest.
Yeah.
I can start getting messages saying, "Can you get one? Can I win one in a raffle?" Okay, so can't hear Phil. Steve, turn on the background noise. No Phil. Steve is okay. Sorry, Phil. 13 minutes in, still naff. Steve is fine. No sound from Phil. No sound. Better. Big mic now. Background noise. Right. Okay. John says, "Hi guys. If my memory is correct, the F-15E Hasegawa did in Euro 1 scheme was just their B kit with a prototype. It can be made into a decent kit though, not as good as the Rebel one, but way still got back a good hiss, ground hiss." Right, okay, you're on about that as well. So there you go, you can do it after that one. Hi guys, hope all is well, just tuned into the show. A few questions for today. Steve, I'm looking at the Accurate Armour kit, and which one would you recommend, as I've never built one of their kits before?
Right. I don't know, it depends what kind of armour you're into and what kind of era. Very first one I built was the little ferret. That was my first resin kit. Good way of getting into doing a resin kit. Nice, straightforward, easy to build. And then from there you can go up. All depends on your budget as well. But there's all sorts you can build. They do a really good range if you do a lot of aircraft. They do a really good range of airfield vehicles in 1 to 48. if you're into your more modern stuff, they do a lot of the British armour. Your Jackals are very good, Coyote's very good. I've built the Ford and Recovery truck, which is fantastic kit. Any of them will do, as long as with accurate armour, it's all about dry fitting. Take your time with it and do a lot of dry fitting. And also, when you're cutting off casting blocks, getting your parts ready, use your razor saw, and also where you can, scrape any excess resin off. Sanded, it's easy to over sand, and then once you've over sanded, then you have to start building it back up with super glue and stuff like that. Also with accurate armour kits, make sure you give them a good wash. Their kits tend to have quite a bit of release agent left on them, so I always give them just wash the parts first, let them dry naturally, and then I always like to give them a little wipe with a bit of IPA just to make sure everything's off, any release agent's off. But yeah, just find a kit that you're interested in, one that really appeals to you, and just take your time with it, and you should have no problems. It's just that obviously there is a big difference between plastic and resin kits, but you'll enjoy it. They're really good things, and good thing is, like Accurate Armour and other companies like that, if you have any problems with the parts, say it's not big cast bubbles being when they were casting it, or it's a bit warped, damaged, or like that, they'll replace it instantly. Just ring them up, they'll send you a replacement out. They're really good like that, and everything you need is in the box, which I always like. But yeah, just pick one, just take your time with their kits.
Cool, brilliant. I must admit, I've never built one, if I'm honest. Something
You
to do for the bucket list.
Some of the kits that they've got now are absolutely stunning. You know, and it's a bit different to what you'd normally get in plastic. You know, like I said, some of the airfield refueling wagons, all the different support vehicles, they do cranes and all sorts. They're really, really nice. But yeah, just get one and give it a go. I've still got quite a few to do myself.
Cool, very good. Okay, he says, also, have you ever built the 132nd Hawker Hunter? I have, never. Sorry, I can't work out a typo in there. Have you ever built it? Is anything to look out? Sorry, I presume he means if you've ever built it, was there anything to look out for or a bad point? I built one a long time ago. Absolutely. To be honest, a really good kit. Usual thing with Revel though, just watch your ejector pin marks, a few little fit issues here, there and everywhere, but nothing you would say that doesn't go together. The nice thing about the Hunter is because it's quite sleek lines and all the rest of it, it's very easy to blend in and sort of just sand and fills where required. Usual things with it, just the intakes around that area tend to be a little bit fiddly, but again, just take your time with it, test fitting, dry fitting, like we say, everything. Actually, it's not a bad kit. It's one of those kits that actually, you know, you can get away with. It's not massively detailed by today's standard, but it's still, for an overall shape of a Hawker Hunter, it is very, very nice. John says, just remembered Wolfpack did do an update set for the F-15E. Used it with any kit. So there we go. The big thing is, if you want to do that Hasegawa one, is going to be the lantern pods, but it depends if you're going to do it modern and put a sniper pod onto it, and various things like that. So it just depends on which version and era you're doing with it. Also, the thing is with the F-15E, down on the back, slightly off onto the starboard side, you've got quite like a lump down the back of it, and that's the GPS antenna and things like that. So it's little things, just depending which era, because again, the F-15E's been around now and it's been upgraded and various things happening to it. So you just want to sort of pick an era for what one you want and then go from there. Robert says, what you were saying about the Star Destroyer at the top of the show. Sorry, we had no sound. Oh right, apologies. Basically I was saying, no, I'm only joking. It's actually really nice. Go and buy one if you can find one, apparently, because Steve's just having a look and he can't find one. Yes, I am doing a filler and sand job and all the rest of it on this one to make it fit a little bit better, take care of a few issues, things like that with it. But generally, I have to say, it's going together flawlessly with no problem at all. Just a few little fit problems, but again, tiny bits of fill around in there takes care of it. And when we say tiny, I'm using liquid styrene and just put a drop and brush just to take care of little tiny seams on it, and it is great. 24 quid, it's a bargain. The only thing is crap is the sound thing. It's truly awful, hence whilst I'm bunging it all up. And everything else like that, because it is pants completely. But it's got a nice little LED light set in there, and it is a very, very nice representation of Star Destroyer. You know, absolutely. The detail on it is really, really good. I'm very, very impressed with it. It's one of those things. Sometimes you get a kit and it sort of exceeds your expectations. Definitely one of it. Considering it only takes like 10 minutes to put together, it goes together absolutely really well. Solid as a rock. I didn't glue any of this. I've just literally put a bit of fill around on it now to take care of it. But there's no glue involved in this at all, and it is absolutely fine. And I was just saying that for the kids, absolutely they'll love it. You know, if somebody give me to that when I'm sort of 1982, I would have been absolutely jumping off the hills with it. It's that good. It really is very, very nice. Definitely one to watch out for. But as we were saying, unfortunately it's out of stock everywhere at the moment. Doesn't seem to be particularly easy to find in the UK, but there we go. Okay, so anyway, it'll be up on Friday. That'll be up as well. So there's going to be a review for it Friday, and then what you'll get next week is what I'm working on now, which is doing all the filler work and the bits and pieces. Very similar to what I'm doing with the ATAT. So the idea is you get the review, which is a review build of it going together, and then the part 2 of it will be then finishing it and doing it properly and taking care of all the bits and pieces. So there'll only be 2 parters. Okay, so Jonathan says, hi guys, nice to hear you and good to meet you both at Telford. I do have an ear infection at the moment, well, probably for the thing, but I don't think I've lost that much hearing. Question 1, can you repeat the answer to my question please? Did we have no sound at all? That's weird, because how come Steve can hear me then? That was really, really odd.
I don't know.
Okay, what was Jonathan's question? This is all going to get really thingy at the minute. What I'll do is I'll go back and I'll start at the beginning and do those first handful of questions then.
One who's about doing the Star Wars thing, or which metal one we recommend.
Oh, is it? Don't know. Can you pop back and have a look?
Yeah,
I'll do question 2 whilst you do that. I have a problem with my Meet My Metal SIG. I applied a base coat of Tamiya X1, then the AK white aluminium on top. The finishes come through rather patchy, and a number of reapplications of the metal paint will get rid of it. Did I apply the AK too soon, 36 hours, after the base coat, and has it eaten into it, or some other explanation? The trouble is with it, it looks like from the picture that you've put up there that sometimes the way to describe metallizers is like flakes. That's actually what's happening is traditional paint, it's like balls, okay, and it just sort of all sits there and all the rest of it. But with metallizers, what happens is, imagine them like flakes. If they're not laying flat and stacking on top of each other, they can give you a sort of textured look, because some of them are slightly raised, and what you're actually doing is getting shadowing inside the paint. Really odd, and it's how you get perfect chrome. Perfect chrome is when they're all laying completely flat and you have a mirror. But if you get some of them sticking up, the more they stick up and the more textured they are, the more you end up with that sort of, you know, sort of darker, duller look to it, because it's not reflecting, because they're not laying flat. What's happened there, I think, is just as you put the paint down, it's getting quite patchy. And the thing is, if you've got like a rough section of it, it's going to look darker by its nature, and then overcoating it, it's rough on rough, if you know what I mean. So they're slightly off. Imagine like shadowing effect. That's, I think, what you're getting there. What it could be worth doing, to be honest, is just giving it a very light rub with something like a polishing sponge, just to go right over it, just to polish it, clean it all off, wash it off, get it all dry, smooth, go over it so you can feel nothing. You should feel like you're touching glass on top if you want to go for a nice shiny finish. The other thing as well is physically polish it. You know, you can actually, as I said, use the white side on these, are great for it, wet it a little bit and then physically polish it, get it completely gone, dry it, wipe away, make sure you get rid of all the residue and everything else that's come from polishing, then recoat it. I think that's what you're getting. You're just getting what we call shadowing into the metal effect. which is great if you want a weathered look, not so good if you want something perfect. Okay, but that's what can happen. But that's all it is. I assume what it is, the black underneath, was some of it was more glossy than others. Instead of it looking completely like a mirror, that's what it is. But if you want to go for that high gloss, high reflective look, then that's it. Your other option again is that you can go through and literally buy paints which you can buff. They're the ones which are good because you can buff them and get that nice mirrored look to them and everything else like that. But I think that's what that is. That patchiness coming through is just showing that through. But again, it's one of those things. It's not the end of the world. It's quite easy to fix by going over it. Some people just give it another couple of coats in that area and then flatten it off and then do it like that. But the thing is, when you're into metal finishes, it's that thing where all of a sudden normal painting rules go out the window because you're not covering and coating like you technically do with normal paints. This time what you're actually doing is plating, and look at it like plating. And then as soon as you get that mindset that you're just plating, that's when metallizers and everything work a lot better, because all of a sudden you're putting down very light coats, seeing what it's like, good, no problems, net coat going through, and it is that thing from start to finish, everything has to be perfect. That's why people shy away from metal finishes, because they're not easy to pull off. Not a good natural finish. Yes, you can paint anything silver, but again, painting things silver is different from trying to get a metal effect and that nice thing like that. So yeah. Steve, any things to that?
No, I think you covered it all there.
What was his first question?
Right, I couldn't find any questions by him, so I'm thinking he's just on about the first question that we answered, which was about the F-15 Eagle. What would we do with the Hasegawa one? We both basically said build the Revel one if you can get hold of that.
Yeah, get hold of the Revel F-15E because I still think it's the best one. Best definite bang for the buck on that one. I think the Revel F-15E. What we do is at the end I'll go back to it.
Yeah.
And I'll redo it. Sorry, was that what we put? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. Right, William says, hi Phil and Steve. Quick one about colour photo etch. They always look great on the fret and they look good on the kit, but once you flat coat everything, they almost die and look like a decal. I still want to flat coat to protect the other parts for weathering. I'm concerned that weathering might eat the CA, and any tips and tricks for getting it to pop more like they do on the fret. Thanks for all the work you guys do for the hobby. Personally, I don't go in and flat my cockpits and things. Do you, Steve?
No, I don't.
So I don't worry about it. I've never had super glue be eaten through. What I can't imagine what you would ever do to make the super glue get eaten by something. You know, even if you were brushing a wash over it, a quick wash won't eat through it. If you're drowning it, yeah, it'll eat through the thing. But honestly, I don't overcoat my cockpits.
No.
Or, you know, if I did, what I would probably do, to be honest, is that top coat one, I would do it all. Put perhaps the black surfaces down from the colour photo etch, but the top one I'd put in after it then, once it's all been done. That would be your easiest way to get around that problem. The only thing I tend to do is I put a dab of like a clear or a PVA glue in the bezels of all the dials or TV screens or whatever it is on colour photo etch, just give them that glassy look and it stops them looking flat, it gives them a nice three-dimensional look and things like that. So yeah, but I've never had a problem where it eats out. So yes.
No, I don't. I'm a bit like you. If the only thing I'll ever do is brush on a quick coat, clear over the painted areas before I put a wash on, and then just put a wash on. Never had any problems when I put wash over any coloured PE. Never have.
No,
So
I haven't either.
Okay. But
Yeah,
like you, I use the crystal clear or PVA glue over any dials, and now use a bit of clear green or red if needed or stuff like that just to bring it out.
Yeah, definitely. So there we go. Okay, so Mark says, hi both. Just getting back to post 5. Hasegawa just released the British WAH-64 in 148, currently in stock at Hobby Link Japan. There we go. And he's put a link down there as well, so you can grab that one. So there we go. We was waiting for that. I know they just did was it the Taiwanese one or whatever it was? That one just came out as well. So okay, John Bennett says got both the Apache. The Revel ones is a repop of the Monogram one, which is the Atelier kit. Get the Hasegawa one with the Heritage set decals. There's some on the extra decal sheet. Apart from the roundels and the serial numbers and stencils, the numbers, army and stencils didn't carry much more. They painted out the squadron markings anyway. Oh, well, there we go. Christopher says, hi Phil and Steve, could Steve please explain how he uses Gunsy's mark setter and softener? I'm a bit confused as the instructions are kind of the same. They say the setter should be applied to the place where the decal is to be put, and after application of the decal once again on top, the softener should be applied also to the place where the decal is to be put, but not onto the decal. Regards, Chris. That does sound confusing.
Yeah, what I do is, before I put my decal on, I'll put a little bit of the setter onto my model. I'll put the decal on top. Then I'll use a cotton bud to obviously roll over, get any excess moisture from under the decal. And then I'll brush over a bit more of the setting solution over the top of the decal and just leave it. After about 20 minutes, I'll have a look. If it's bedded down, I'll leave it. If not, I'll put a bit more setter on and put a couple of coats down and just leave it. And that should soften it enough to go over anything. When it comes to the softener, you see, what I'll do is, if the setter ain't worked, I'll just put a very thin layer of the softener over the decal. But you've got to make sure that there's no droplets on top of the decal. If there's a droplet on there, what it tends to do is it kind of over softens it and it can leave a mark. It melts it that much, it leaves a mark. It won't damage it. The mark, you can see it slightly damages the decal. It won't dissolve the decal, but it'll leave a mark on there. So just put the thinnest amount on there and just leave it for 20 minutes. Go back and have a look. And what the beauty of it is doing it this way, I find, if it hasn't quite gone in the crease, you can use a cotton bud and just help push it into the creases, because the decal will be soft enough that you can do that. Unlike Micros Set and Salt, when you put their softener on, it shrivels up. This one doesn't as much. It don't really shrivel it up. It just softens it, and it only takes a couple of coats and just leave it. But like I said, the key is make sure there's no droplets left on top of the decal, and do it that way, and you should have no problem whatsoever.
Cool. I must admit, I haven't properly tried it, but then I can't get hold of the other one because it's not available in the UK at the moment. The setting solution, I've just got the other one, wherever it is. Where it is. Yes, I've got the setter, but I haven't got the softener. Which,
to be honest, Phil, that one is absolutely brilliant. You'd only need to use that one. Again, like I say, put a bit on your model first, and then your decal, then just put a bit more on, and the longer you leave it, it just keeps working and working. And like I say, it softens it enough that you can actually help it should you need to. But you don't probably need that one. And never, even on the complex curves, I'll only usually put the blue one on. It's very rare I have to hit it with the green.
Thing is, with that one, when I tried to overcoat with it to put it a nice even coat right the way over the decal to get it conformed down, it just bubbled up. I couldn't get it to break the surface tension. Yeah, then I went over it with micro set, and it did the trick instantly.
Yeah, no, I think I don't use. I always use a paintbrush as well. I don't use the big brush that they give you, and just keep moving it over. You see, I wrote today.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's all right, we have interesting news because Mel's got a new job.
Oh, brilliant.
She starts her new job in the new year with a different company.
Oh, cool.
So, yes. Right, okay, well, I'll give that a whirl. My next build, when I'm doing decals, I'll give it a whirl and we'll get it out and see how we get on with it.
To be honest, when I'm doing a lot of my armour builds, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I don't even put a coat clear over the model before I use decor solution. And what I find is because it's quite a matte surface, it'll put the decor ends up looking as though it's been sprayed on.
Yeah.
You know, it really grips it. It does look like the real thing. So so that's a good way as well. You don't have to put clear on first. I wouldn't on aircraft. I'd always clear first, but on armour,
Yeah.
get away with not having clear on.
Cool. Oh, well, we'll give it a whirl next time up. Okay. Jerry. Good morning, Phil and Steve. I was in Canada. I thought it was one of the Australian lot. In one of your shows, everyone. I tell you what, my spelling sometimes is terrible, but it's really difficult to read when everyone else is as bad as mine. In one of your shows, I think you mentioned using perfect plastic putty thinned with water to make a paste to fill rivet detail. Could you explain the technique a little in more detail, please? To be honest, that was last week when we did the big build. One of the guys did I think what it was now. One of the it was the Warhawk, wasn't it? I think the detail was too heavy on the wings. The riveting is the panel lining was well over the top, very, very thick. So what he ended up doing was, which is in some ways what I was doing with this, is down in here. What he's actually done is mix up a batch of perfect plastic putty because it's water soluble, and then add a little bit of water, a few drops of water to it, mix it up so it goes to like a paste more, well, it's almost like an emulsion, and then brush paint it over the actual entire wing and then just wipe it off so it's left in the recesses. So don't let it dry, you just put it all over your wing, paint it over your wing, and then literally wipe it all away with a damp cloth. That way it will then semi fill up the panel lines. Okay, it is going to do shrinkage, but you do want that because you want to have the panel lines left. You don't want to completely obliterate them, and that takes care of it. The other technique obviously is for doing things like older kits where it's got really heavy duty over the top riveting detail. You can do exactly the same thing. You could just put a dollop on your wing, so to speak. And to be honest, it's how we did this a bit. And then I just come along with a wet cotton bud and just wiped it all around just to get rid of it off of areas I didn't want too much on there, and to take care of it and to do things like that. It's literally just the same technique. Very, very straightforward, very, very simple. And you can just pop around the entire thing and do it that way. But it's the nice thing with using perfect plastic putty is that it's water soluble, where most of them they etch and they stick and start to like melt into the plastic. This won't, it just sits on the top, which is great then, because literally you can just wet it, it breaks it down a bit, and you can go off, and you can do that right the way up until it's completely cured. When it's completely cured and rock hard, obviously that's it, it's over, it's not going to do it anymore. But all the time it's still slightly moist, you can actually then rehydrate it, thin it in the essence, and then just wipe it out. The only trouble with it is it will leave shrink marks. It is going to shrink back. I've got shrinkage on this appearing in here already, and various bits and pieces, but if you're doing a wing you need it to somewhat shrink back, otherwise you'll have no panel lines whatsoever. So in some ways it's working an absolute treat on that one. So that's why we said about it.
While we're on filler, one thing I've found, I've been when using styrene filler on the Armata tank. When I've put it on there, if you quickly wet your finger, once you put your styrene filler on, wet your finger and just quickly wipe across where you put it, it fills the gap really nice. And it makes your sanding a lot easier. It just takes rid of any excess, and you can just wipe it then on on your finger off in a bit of kitchen roll. It's a really good way of doing it. It cuts back on the amount of sanding that you do.
Yeah, I must admit, I do something similar. I usually just use I'll come along with a little bit of extra thin and brush it over it, and you can melt it away. So you sand it and you get it down to pretty much that's it, and then just give it a light rub over and it just melts the rest of it away. And to be honest, it's how I did it on this guy as well, just tiny bit of extra thin and just go round on the edges afterwards, and then it just melts and it just then flows away and then dries, but it's a lot thinner and obviously you don't notice it, and it's a great way of doing tiny little areas because you can get in there and you don't have to sand it afterwards. You can just brush a little bit over it and melt it in. Great little technique.
Yeah, or even with a wet cotton bud, as long as it's wet, it will all stick to it, and you can just quickly wipe off over the top of it.
Yeah, definitely. Right, Steve says, quick, there's the link here, and he's put up the eBay number for one on eBay. Quick, Steve, go and get it now before everybody else has seen it. He's put the number on the site. You better have more than one, otherwise you're just going to know the entire membership has now run off now and gone and bought it.
I bet they have, yeah.
Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is, because that's us up to date, I'm going to pop back to the first questions and we'll do them again. Okay. It's strange how you guys were saying you had no sound at all, because when I did, I could hear us back in the beginning of the show and I knew we had a live mic. That was the weird thing, so I could hear myself. Anyway, the question was, basically, Chris was saying about he bought this kit. It's a very old kit and all the rest of it. As we technically, what it was, Hasegawa took the F-15B two-seater trainer type and turned it into what this thing is. And this is the actual prototype of the F-15E. It was the sort of the concept demonstrator that McDonnell Douglas did for the proof of concept for the F-15E. So what they did is they added fast packs to it and a huge weapon load. The trouble is, though, the kit itself is a V. So to upgrade it, you would have to go down the route of aftermarket routes and all the rest of it. Personally, what I would do is I'd keep it as a B, okay, do it as a two-seater F-15 because they're very nice as well, and go out and buy the Revel one, because the Revel one is a great kit. And again, I'm not sure if it is on the site. I'll have to check. Actually, hold on, I'll have a quick look. See, video builds. I don't know if I'm still online or not. Let me just see. Is this still available? No, it's not. Sorry. Yeah, the ones that are missing is the Apache, F-15, the F-14's not there. There's a couple of them. Trouble is, we got thing with copyright. You've only got to put more than 5 seconds of music on it, and you get a copyright strike. And those have music on there because they were on our own servers, which was fine. But now we're on YouTube. That's a no-no. So unfortunately, they all had to come off. So yes, that isn't on there anymore, unless I'm missing it somewhere else. 810. No, that would have been it. So yes, unfortunately, it's not down in there. Never mind. Okay, so that was that one. The other one we was talking about is that Mark was suffering from warpage with a resin part. So it was a street scene about a foot square, and he was saying it was always curving. What we were saying is chances are it wasn't heated long enough in hot water, because the hot water trick, what it does, all the molecules go to pot, okay, and then when it cools they all sort of come together. And he was saying that he tried it in the hot water trick, but then he did it and it went back to being bowed again. And we were saying chances are that because it's quite thick, in some areas it could be like 1 centimetre thick resin, it may be that those areas it was still cool, so it needed to be really hot. So we're saying very hot water, get it in there, do it so it's nice and floppy, then take it out, try that. If that doesn't work, we were saying about using epoxy resin, glue it to perhaps a piece of MDF, just like 6mm MDF, and then put another piece on top and clamp it overnight so it goes completely off, and that will hold it down, and do it that way. And then Harry, I don't know how far we got before we caught this is the thing. Harry was talking about metallizers, we were talking about obviously highly polished. We're talking chrome because he's on about the Naboo Starfighter, and as we know, that thing's chrome. To do chrome is incredibly difficult, so we were saying perhaps it might be easier to go down something like bare metal foil, because that you can get a chrome finish, okay, and all the rest of it. After that, if you want a really good chrome finish, a bufferball. The great thing about bufferballs, you can literally keep polishing and polishing and polishing with a very soft cloth, and you can get them like a mirror. Okay, you can take just standard steel and make it like a mirror. Okay, thing is, it's a very long-winded, very drawn-out problem. Like we were talking about a little bit earlier, the Spitfire had the patchiness on there. You just have to be careful, because if you rub through it too much, you start getting patchy look as well, because you're getting the black starting to show through. Okay, but again, if you're going to be doing it and it is your first time using any type of metallizer, I highly recommend the AK Extreme metallizers. They are fantastic. The great thing about those is it doesn't tend to matter how you spray them. It doesn't matter if it's a heavy coat, if it's a light coat, what air pressures, what distances. It tends to go down pretty well. You really have to mess it up to make it a problem, but that's for standard metal colours. As soon as you start going down to the realms of polished aluminium and chrome, you have to be meticulous, i.e. black gloss base for it. I recommend X1 Tamiya. Polish the hell out of that to make it like a mirror. Okay, if that's looking like a mirror, you know the next coat's going to look like a mirror. So then you start going in there, very low air pressure, nice and close, nice dusty coats, gently build it up and bring it up, okay? And it could be a case of put down a couple of coats, stop, have a look. If you're noticing you're getting textures in there, if it doesn't feel like glass, you've got textures in there, then you have to go in there and polish it. So you can use polishing cloths, polishing compounds, or obviously like the white side on our sanders, things like that. And then that way you can polish it in, then go back in, give it another couple of coats, see how it's looking. And it is a general build up, because to be honest, chrome is almost like the holy grail of metallizers. To get a total chrome finish takes a lot of practice and a lot of knowledge to know exactly how the metal is working with the plastic underneath and everything else like that. Because unfortunately in the real world you can make anything almost look like chrome and polish it enough, okay, but chrome is specifically a chrome part for a reason. It's very difficult to actually get it in sort of scale effect. But as Steve was saying, you probably don't want it, you know. In some ways it'll look a bit toyish if it's just like a, you know, oven bake. So in some ways that perhaps just being slightly before you get to chrome will give you a more natural look for the scale effect. And I think that's where we got to.
Yeah.
I think the rest of it is when everyone started shouting, we can't hear you. Still weird. I have to watch the playback on that and everything else. So let me just see if we are up to date. Okay, and sorry, Jimmy says it's still in stock. Says he's got 8 still in stock. How much are they going for, Steve?
They're at 25 quid, but if I went on Amazon, because I've got Amazon Prime, I get free delivery.
All right. Have they got any on Amazon Prime?
Yeah,
That's
they've got loads of stuff on there.
Oh right, okie dokie. Right, okay. So anyway, there's 8 of these left if you want to get them off of that eBay thing. Okay, Glenn says, hi guys, recently bought the Isracast 148 scale Texan 2 kit, which has warping. Any ideas how to straighten up things again? Yeah, like we were saying, hot water trick is your primary go-to. Depending on what type of resin it is, will depend on the temperature it actually needs. The only thing do not ever do, and that's go at it with a hot air gun, because you just melt it on the spot. The thing is, when you're using hot water, it penetrates inside and it makes all the molecules relax, and then it comes out and it's really floppy, and then that way you can do it. But the thing is, when you're dealing with wings and that, it's just that thing. If it's a twist, sometimes the resin can twist, physically twist, to try and get it back and out, and you know, really you almost need to make a jig. So you get it hot, drop it into the jig, and then as it obviously cools down, then the molecules really tighten up again and it goes solid. All right, but the thing is, if it's a twist, that's different. If it's just bending down a bit, you can always do it like line of sight or put it on your desk and get it in there like that. But when it's twisted, that's the difficult one, because you almost have to manhandle it physically by hand to get it straight. It might take 20 dunks in hot water. I've done it in things in the past. I've done a lot of resin, big stuff, and that's always has warpage. My worst one to date, going back in the day, is when I did that awful, truly nightmarish Hawkeye, and it was 2 halves, and they were like bananas to each other. They're literally like this, and that is really thick. Some of that must be 3 or 4 centimeters solid resin, and that's what I did. It literally boiled the kettle into the sink, a little bit of hot water in with it as well, so it's not boiling, and I just dropped both parts in it, then took them out, and then I must admit I had a cutting mat, put them straight onto the cutting mat that way down, and then literally they went together and they were fine. But I had them, they were literally like this. There was no way you could even put it together. It would rip itself apart. But it works, as I say. But a couple of dunks seemed to work. Put it down, not quite, bit more, and eventually we had it. They were both laying flat, so when they went together, it was minimal filler job really, and worked very, very well. You have had trouble with warpage, Steve?
Very rare. Occasionally I will do if I'm working with a resin kit. And when I do, it's a matter of just going, get a bowl of really hot water, and just take my time to straighten it. I'll get it so the resin's soft enough so you can start moving it. I won't get it so it's too floppy, because you could easily ruin the part. But it's, to be honest, it's very, very rare. And it tends to be on your kind of, maybe your gun barrel or your long, thin resin parts that do it.
Yeah.
But you can't, you've got to go in there with the confidence of doing it. If you go in there and going, I don't, a bit apprehensive about doing the job, you can easily mess it up. Just go in there, get stuck in, and you should be okay. But it's worth having, if you've got a bowl of hot water so that you can easily get your part in, have a bowl of cold water. So if it starts going looking a bit, ooh, I've overdone it, you can just quickly cool it down. That's a good tip as well.
Yeah. No, I think, the thing is, resin, part of it is warpage. Obviously, it comes with age. The guys who followed me and I did the Star Destroyer, that thing was horrendous because instead of it being sort of triangular shaped and angled, it had gone flat. So I had an area of mine, it sort of cuts at the front here, this entire bit, this was one piece, and as it should be at an angle, it had gone flat. So to try and get that angle back, it was a case of, right, room with hot water, but I was that worried about losing the geometry of it because obviously it's quite, it all needs to line up and it's big. It's not like you can just give it a bit of a push in that. So with that one, it was a case of, right, so I actually use a solid, which I think I've still got them in here. I used these. Find them. These are solid copper bars. So I used the weight of them and I put it onto it overnight. So what it was heated, they were put on, then we used the copper bars to try and get on, and I made this sort of jig, if you guys remember, and it sort of all sat around it, and then we had clamps on holding it, so we had the weight of these, because what I needed it to do was to slowly come into position, because my risk was if we just went in with this thing and went like that, it was going to crack, and then to get a crack down the middle of that, it would have been a nightmare to fix it. So it was just trying to get it into that situation where, okay, so right, okay, nice gentle pressure overnight, just the weight of these bars pushing down onto it, and it was enough to get it all in there. Then we left the bars on there for a couple of days and then literally took them off, and it had no spring, it didn't just pop back or anything else, just because of the weight of these things. And that's what we did with it. So it may be worth giving that a whirl. If you're into a situation where you're not sure, then try a little bit of weight on there and a little bit of brute force. Chances are, if it's resin wings, it's just trying to get the right alignment. Again, you really need a jig. So when you take out the hot water, they're going to be floppy as hell. You put it in and it sets and it dries in the right place or cools in the right position. Otherwise, you could have that thing of one higher and one lower and all the rest of it. But unfortunately, it is the sort of perils of dealing with resin. Sometimes these companies, like Steve has said, are really good, and you can say to them, look, this part's pretty crap. And they'll literally say, don't worry about it, we'll send you a replacement, which is fantastic customer service, no problem at all. Other companies, obviously, they sell it and you don't see them again. So unfortunately, it does put you in a little bit of a predicament.
It's worth as well. Now and again, you'll get a resin part, and when the casting an air bubble got in there and damaged the part, usually you can repair it, but if you can't, when you email them or go on the phone, sometimes email's better, just attach a photograph of the damaged part and send it to say, look, this is damaged, blah blah blah, and you sorted. I know I lost a bit of my accurate armour kit, sent me a replacement, no trouble. So yeah, they are really helpful. They're really well established resin companies. Because you're paying a lot of money for it, and that's one good. You'll say, oh, that's a lot of money, but you do get this, service afterwards. If you do have problems, the customer service is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, kudos too. I know they are no longer with us, but Alistair at Alicat always used to say, any problems, just shout and we'll just send a new replacement part. And that was the great thing about it. They made a lot of resin kits. We made their Tucano, which is around somewhere, and stuff like that. And it was a case of, right, okay, no problem. And you have a confidence in it. But sometimes you buy a resin kit and you open it up and it just looks like a load of bubble gum. And you're like, this is going to be fun, but it's nice to buy from a kit manufacturer who's still going, can still give you the backup, and then that way, any problems, you just get a replacement part.
Even if you're having problems with a kit in general, you're not sure how it goes together, ring them up, they'll tell you. They're really good like that.
To be honest, the nice thing about resin companies is the reason they use resin is that they can't afford to do injection molding, because they're usually a smaller company. And that's the great thing. The smaller companies, you can get direct to the people who made the molds, who made the actual masters for it, who know that kit inside out. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Instead of it just being all CAD and computerized, chances are those people are a little bit more approachable, a lot easier to deal with. Okay, Reese says, with everyone talking about Apaches, I've just seen that Academy do the AH-64A MSIP, which stands for Midlife something, whatever. It's an update, isn't it?
Midlife surface enhancement.
Yeah, Inception thing.
something.
Yeah, that's the one. In the stash, so you guys know if it's any good. That's the one I built. Again, it's all right. It's not as good as the Hasegawa one. It's got a few little fit problems. The engines, the way they go in, isn't exactly nice. Again, you're fighting with it because it's raised details. You don't really want to lose those if you can. So you end up not doing as much sanding as perhaps it needs, shall we say, things like that. Underside, if I remember right, it's a bit nasty how the side sponson sort of go on the packs. Yeah, it's just a handful. Afterwards, speaking to a lot of people who'd done the Hasegawa one, apparently that one's a lot easier to work with. The Academy one is the harder route, but the Academy one is a lot cheaper and things like that. So, but right, I enjoyed it. It was alright. It was a good kit, that one.
I had an Apache a couple of days ago fly over.
Did you?
Yeah, it's quite unusual for where we are.
I was going to say, what did you do?
No, because it's got a distinct noise, hasn't it, the Apache?
Yeah.
And you just heard it and I thought, well, that's a bit strange. That sounds like an Apache. I had a quick look out.
Yeah.
So usually say ambulance going to the motorway or the police. So that was quite...
Well, it's getting near Christmas now. We haven't had any low-flying aircraft over here all week, so I must admit, usually when I'm filming I have to stop as we get something to go over. But get near Christmas, that's it. Everything goes on shutdown. Okay, I think we're up to date. We are in and done. We are. I think we're all good. Let me just check the other areas. Right, okay. I think we're all okay. I'm just checking to see if anything else we've got. Big improvement. Right, everyone's saying that the sound is fine, so that's good. Right, okay, last up from me. As we all know, if you've been following along, it is that magical time of the year, so we have been doing these. And then obviously you guys didn't see, but I actually had this little guy, which is the TIE Interceptor from Lego. My thing is, right, I keep getting extra bits. Am I supposed to get extra bits? It's not like I've forgotten to put them on or anything. Okay, so where do we want? We got as far as 3, so I've got to do 4. Where's 4? 4. Right, okay. So we're into 4. Oh, right, okay. We've got a bloke. Okay, 4. Okay, where's 5? 5. Ooh. That looks like a Hoth turret. Okay, and 6 for today. Oh god, I've overdone that one. Oh, that's a big bag. Why is that one? Oh look, I've got actually a trooper. Let me just stick that there. I've got to try and get these all together now. Okay, stand there. So, what we have here for our unboxing video. See, I can do this. Wouldn't it be so much easier to work with Lego?
Good fun as well.
Mind you, I tell you what, me and Liam the other day were looking at some Lego bits and pieces and the Lego Star Destroyer. Have you seen how much that thing is?
Oh, imagine how expensive it'll be.
Oh, thousands. It was like, really? Having a giraffe. Okay, so we have this guy, which I assume, isn't he like the attack commander? No, I don't think he is. I don't know. He's got the funny
Does it tell
helmet.
you on the inside of the door?
No. It doesn't tell you anything really. Bloody nightmare. Hold on. So anyway, here's this guy. There he is. So that's him. Right. And then we've got the little...
Oh, just go and check my Star Wars helmet collection.
Oh god, he's going to be going on about his helmets again. Now we're in trouble. Right, okay. Yeah, if anybody else does these things, because obviously I don't, how comes I'm getting all the extra parts? I've got bits left over. Does this enable you to make some super thing at the end? Right, okay, so we have these. So this is, yeah, like this. Why have I got 2 of them? Okay, so that hangs down. That goes, which way up? Don't know. We'll try that way. Then that goes on there. Okay, and then we have, oh no, should have put his head on. Okay.
Oh, I haven't got that one yet.
Oh right.
It's one of the few I have.
I don't know if he's the gunner, if he's supposed to be the gunner.
Yeah, it looks familiar, but I just couldn't.
Also, here's my other question, seeing as it is Star Wars month, I'm allowed to talk about it. How comes every time there's like an Imperial March or anything else and you get a load of stormtroopers together, why is it they are all... That's round the wrong way, isn't it? Yeah, hold on. No, it's not. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, they're all left-handed. All the troopers are left-handed. What's that about? In fact, I think I've just twigged that one myself. I've twigged it. And now why? Because I haven't watched it. I was just watching it on YouTube and it's where everyone's reversing the image, I reckon. So there we go. Snowtrooper. With bits left over, as we said. And then... This is the bit where this video gets more likes than anyone else because it's Lego. Okay. Right, this is going to be interesting.
Well, you never know what those leftover bits could build into some at the end.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so as you say, the instructions, let me just show you how good the instructions are. That's it. That is the instruction. That's all you get. So somehow you have to build this out of that. So it's like, right-o, you sort of have to imagine how it would be. So I'm guessing that this probably goes a little bit like this. And I'm thinking this must go something like that. It's going to hold that lot together. And then I'm thinking that must be that bit there. And then this is this bit here. And it has another one there. Okay. Right, that must go in upside down. Then we have the little saucer bit. Then we have the gun. Well, we say gun. The thing is, I don't like is the way that I reckon. No, see, I reckon we got another extra bit. Doesn't show it. Okay. Yeah, the bit I don't like is the way that Lego cheats. So there we go. That's a little turret, defense turret for Hoth. See that? I don't know. I've got an extra one. We'll pop it on anyway. So there we go. Up to date with our little Christmas nativity scene. Let me pop it back over. I can't wait for like the big one at the end. I bet you don't get anything decent at the end because 24 looks the same size as all the others.
It'll probably be Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker.
So look, I'll put them in the snowy scene. Okay, you can go in the snowy scene. He gets 2 guns because like he's hardcore. Okay, and there we go. See, we are all good to go. Very festive, and I've got the bits left over, which goes more with my other bits left over. As I say, I'm just wondering if it makes something bigger at the end, that it enables you to build something with all the other bits that you've got.
Talking of Star Wars, I've got my parcel that arrived.
Oh, go on then. Hold on, let me put you on full screen for this.
On air, so I'll have to open it up. All the way from Japan. It certainly is. Ah, he's giving me his online store details. But it's the Death Trooper.
Oh, very nice.
Which looks rather nice, like all the blacks. So that actually, I might have to build this.
Very nice.
I quite like the idea of doing it all in black. Because you can play around with different greys and use the black more as an accent colour. So, yeah. Look forward to building this from the new Rogue One.
Which is now only like, 10 days away now, isn't it?
Again, it looks fantastic. And you can see how they do it. These parts, and it's, the texture of it looks gloss black in one, and because of all the texture they put on it, it looks more like satin black. you know, you've got to love Bandai stuff.
Yeah, it is very, very
The
clever.
quality of that gloss black on there is amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
that is.
But say while we've been doing the show, I've also, you might have seen me just putting something together. I've also just built a tie interceptor.
Oh,
So
very
that's how quick they
posh.
go. That's why I love them. They go together so easy. And
Yeah.
that's already now for a coat of paint.
Mhm.
Or you could just leave it as it is. I haven't put the funny coloured plastic bits on because I don't like them.
Yeah.
And I like this one where you can display it from the back.
Hmm.
Or you can also do it from the underside as well, but I've gone from the back. I just think it looks a little better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can paint that now. They're just so easy to put together, and you know, kids won't get bored with kits like this. And for us
No.
now, the time you give them that, you know, airbrushed it, brought out, you know, bring the greys to life and put a wash on, this will look stunning.
Mm. Very
Yeah.
nice. Very cool.
So I'll have to do the figure next for the SIG that we're doing.
Yep. Definitely. Very good. Well, for me, I'll be then, hopefully, I might even be able to start sanding this tonight. It's pretty good. It doesn't take long for this stuff to go off, but I have got it very, very thick in here. But it'd be interesting to see how good this is. Probably going to need a secondary coat. We'll put a secondary coat onto this one, and then we'll be good to go on that. So looking forward to getting on with that one. Up with you tomorrow will hopefully be, I've got to edit it and all the rest of it, will be the next part of the Meteor build. To be honest, we've done the engines bits for it. We've done a few of the other bits and pieces on there. I've still got to fit the nose onto it yet because it does need a little bit of playing with, but we'll talk about that on there. So hopefully I'll get that done in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll get that edited up. So that will be up with you tomorrow. And then, as I said, Thursday, Friday, you're going to get the next part of the ATAT. That's going to be up with you. You're going to get the first part of the Star Destroyer. And I have done a review, which I did last night in the very small hours of, I've lost it now, of the MiG-21 PFM kit with the A4 Skyhawk. So we've done that one as well. So basically between them all, we've got plenty of bits and pieces coming up with you throughout the end of the week and everything else like that. I'm away this weekend, so there is no Saturday show. I'm up to Staffordshire for the weekend and everything else like that. So yes, there we go. That's about it. So I think that'll do us. 2-hour run. Even if we had no sound at the beginning, do apologise for that. I don't even know what it was, to be honest. I'm a bit stumped. I've come through a different sound thing now, so that one isn't working. So you're on this one. So if that one's better, let us know, and we'll use that one from now on and do it that way. So there we go. Thank you very much, Steve.
Okay.
Where's the little thing down here? There it is. Just getting ready for it. So there we go, guys. Thank you for watching today. I said apologies for the sound this morning. What I'll probably do is edit this on YouTube when it's up there and take the first 10 minutes off, and then we can put it back in at the end and everything else like that. So there we go. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll catch you all again very, very soon. Bye bye.
Bye. You didn't say bye, Steve.
Say bye, Steve.
Bye, Steve. There we go. You missed that.
That's it.